Hello world, and welcome back to Second Glance. Last episode I took a look at a fanfic based off a franchise that I was not necessarily a fan of. Today I aim to correct that by taking a look at a fanfic based off a franchise that once upon a time I was a big fan of.
It's about time you showed up, Fox. You're the only hope for our world.
Let's rock and roll!
If you're like me and you owned an N64 as a kid, then you didn't just play Star Fox, you lived it. And even if you didn't own a copy, you still had all your friends talking about it, sharing strategies, comparing mission paths, and of course, quoting those awesome one-liners.
I guess I should be thankful. Use the boost to get through!
You want a piece of me?
And of course, I'd be remiss if I were to feign mentioning this gem.
Do a barrel roll!
Even though the barrel roll in Star Fox 64 is actually an Illyrian roll, but that's something we don't talk about. For those who don't know, Star Fox is a game series based around the titular mercenary group led by anthropomorphic Fox, aptly named Fox McCloud, who fight various forms of evil across the Lilat system. True story, the very first fanfic I ever wrote, done as a school project, was about Star Fox. It was my obsession until Banjo-Kazooie and Legend of Zelda came out, but even after playing those games to death, I always came back to Star Fox for its multiple gameplay paths. Because of its versatility as a game and as a game franchise, the series has earned a large number of fans, and as a result, fanfiction. The fanfic that I've picked from Star Fox's 2,000 plus archive is a one-shot set in the aftermath of the Aperoid War, at the end of Star Fox Assault. Titled What the Eyes Can't Perceive by author ShiverIntheLight, the summary is as follows. He knew he should be over there, to show himself, the great hero of the Aperoid War, notwithstanding his sudden hesitation. He looked up at the stars from where he stood, seeing the night's alto cirrus clouds dot the sky. The warm breeze ruffled his clothes and fur as if it were a persistent child tugging on his arm, before whispering off to bother someone else. This summary sets the mood with a very poetic use of imagery. We know where this takes place in the Star Fox canon, and we can assume this is about Fox McCloud. It's good and vague and makes the reader want to read more. Regardless of him and his friends having saved the entire galaxy from destruction, Fox still is melancholy. For what reason he isn't sure of, but he finds himself thinking of Crystal, the vixen who captured his heart since the day he saw her. I don't quite care for Crystal. I mean, sure, when I was a teenager and first played Star Fox Adventures, I was like, oh yeah, hot fox babe, high five! But since then, I've reflected on what she's contributed to the Star Fox series as a whole, and the answer is, not a whole damn lot. If she has a personality, then it's barely visible. She's basically just there to be Fox's love interest, as well as broaden the demographic to bring in girl gamers and serve as eye candy to horny teenage boys. Moving on, Fox continues to mope around for reasons unknown, when he is approached by team member Falco Lombardi. So, where's your party attitude, Fox? He asks, gesturing about him with his feathers. I found this phrase rather confusing. It's like saying, when I'm talking to you right now, I'm gesturing about myself with my hands. Kind of redundant and pretty awkward. Fox declines Falco's offer to join the festivities, feeling that he needs to be alone. Falco warns him not to dilly-dally for too long. You wouldn't want Slippy to eat all the food now, do you?
Hey! Leave me alone!
Oh, please, Fox muttered, and Falco chortled out a guffaw before sauntering away, a knowing glint in his dusky blue eyes. Right about here is where I noticed that the wording of the narrative was more than a bit off. Chortled out a guffaw? Sauntering away? I know this is supposed to come across as serious and dramatic, but to me it just feels like the author was trying way too hard. Does he know the true reason as to why I am feeling like this? Fox's thoughts queried. Okay, here's another problem we have in the story. The dialogue is totally stiff and unnatural. I mean, Falco's lines are alright. He comes across as just cocky enough to sound like himself. But Fox and Crystal's dialogue ranges from melodramatic to unbearably sappy. I've read and written my share of romantic scenes in various stories, and the ones I remember most are where the characters' lines were natural, like actual people talking to each other instead of actors reading from a script. Fox wonders what it is that's bothering him as he walks through the forest, yet for some reason doesn't suspect that it has something to do with Crystal. She made him happy when all the others just assumed that he was the happiest fox in the world. Actually, that title belongs to this guy. Just look at him. Smug bastard. Fox continues to mope, and his walk takes him to a shimmering lake. For reasons he couldn't elaborate, he knew something was going to happen here. It would change his life forever. Again, we have an instance where the author tries too hard. It wouldn't be so bad if the story gave us an indication that it's aware of its cheesiness, but it's played entirely straight here, making certain segments feel awkward and forced. At this point, Crystal comes up behind Fox and wraps her arms around him. She breathes his name into his ear, and he can't help but turn around and ascertain if she is... But wait. Ascertain? Is Fox a robot? After some more sexual tension, Crystal asks what Fox is doing here, to which he replies, "I couldn't get into the party mode for some reason." You know what? I'm just gonna do their dialogue like this.
I couldn't get into the party mode for some reason.
Crystal says that they should fix Fox's inability to activate party mode before they both shut up and kiss already, making their weary, yearning, and longing hearts soar in bliss. It was the kind of thing you never experience again, though Fox somehow knew he would always experience this feeling whenever he was with Crystal. It was the feeling of truly being alive and...
Sappy, sticky.
Also, quick question to any members of the furry fandom watching this. How do furries kiss? I imagine that for the more realistically designed models like in Star Fox, the jaw and the snout would make for really uncomfortable, passionate kissing. I'm sure there's an answer out there somewhere, but I'm just way too scared to join an online forum to ask. After drawing back from their kiss, Fox, feeling a renewed purpose in his heart, passionately proclaims,
"How I feel for you now hasn't changed over the years, it has just become stronger."
Crystal pauses, emotions flashing in her turquoise eyes. She then plants a small loving kiss on Fox's nose before pouring her heart out to him.
"I'm truly sorry for hurting you that time and avoiding you."
Alright, I joke about the dialogue, but the narrative has its shining moments. Though cheesy as it is, it does create a consistent, somber theme. It's also cohesive, which few fanfics out there can attest to. Take, for example, the theme of wind throughout the story. In the beginning, it is characterized as a persistent child tugging on Fox's arm. Later, Fox waves his hand in the air, as if to swat it away from him. As we see in the next paragraph, when the wind comes again, Fox doesn't reject it, instead letting it come and twirl its fingers around and on the couple, rustling their fur and clothes. The use of imagery here is simply wonderful. I just wish the author would tone it down when the story doesn't call for such flamboyance. So Fox forgives Crystal for that time she hurt him. I can't really recall when this was during the games, but oh well. And Crystal, in a moment of levity, tells Fox that Falco told her to find him.
"He said that you looked mighty down, and figured I'd be able to help."
Mighty down?
Mighty down.
Huh. You know, I feel like I've heard another anthropomorphic animal say something like that, but I can't put my finger on exactly who.
SpongeBob's acting jumpier than a rattlesnake in a pickle barrel.
Crystal tells Fox that she envies him for his friends, and that she is always alone. This may actually be a reference to Crystal's origin, that, though never brought up in the games, was explained in the instruction booklet for Star Fox Adventures. In her character description, it is revealed that she is a refugee from the doomed planet of Serenia, and that she is presumed to be the only survivor. It's a small detail that I wish was expanded upon in the official canon, as it would make for some good character development. But that's not important here, because Fox just gives her another speech about how him and his friends love her, and that there's no shame in feeling alone, and that segues into him telling her that he loves her and hopes she feels the same way. Oh yeah, you may think I'm rushing through this part, but it actually does get wrapped up this easily. Take a look.
"Crystal, I am with you now. My friends are your friends as well. We support you and want you around us. We love you. There is no shame in feeling as though you are alone. Now we aren't alone. We are together. I love you and always will. Please tell me that you feel the same way."
And so our story ends with the couple drawing back as the trees seem to shoot their bliss and laughter to the stars as the wind runs its course. The water in the lake ripples, making the moon shed light down on the lovers. Fox finally realizes that he and Crystal can finally live in peace together, now that his heart is open again and warm feelings have returned to it. Fox and Crystal gaze up at the stars, at the galaxy they saved, while love bound through time to bring them together incessantly, forever! So, what did I think of... Okay, you can turn the music down now. So, what was my perception of what the eyes can't perceive? Get it? Get it? Because it's a title... Well, the narrative is a little overly wordy, and a lot of the dialogue comes across as unnatural. The imagery is very potent, if overused. It does come across as overly dramatic and cheesy at some parts, though this is to be expected from a straight romance. However, the contrived dialogue and annoying lack of self-awareness mar an otherwise well-structured and cohesive story. I understand the desire to tell an epic story or an epic romance, but you have to tell it in a way that feels crafted rather than constructed. That being said, I will give the author, ShiverIntheLight, props for experimenting outside her usual style. After I posted a written review of the story on its fanfiction.net page, I was contacted by Shiver, who revealed that most of her stories are bland and that she wanted to change that up a bit. Well, bravo to her, I say. Any writer capable of recognizing their flaws is capable of improving by leaps and bounds. So thank you for sitting through another episode of Second Glance. If you learned something from this video or were just entertained, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm still accepting requests for fanfics, though I prefer to have consent from the author before reviewing a story. I feel it's more honorable to the creative medium that way. So until next fanfic, stay sharp.